Does your mind wander off every once in a while? Mine does. When I'm not thinking about cars, I like to think about cars. Especially what-if scenarios. What would happen if I take car A and mix it up with car B? I occasionally let my sick fantasies run free by either drawing cars or make them in a computer game. Luckily, there is no need for this, as someone has already done it for us. Meet Frank Peiler and welcome to episode 22 of the Automotive History series, where we're going to take a look at some of his work. No history lesson for today, but instead we're going to take a look at some alternative universe cars. I'll provide commentary and, as always, bring you up to speed with some background information just so that you know what you're looking at and what has changed. Uh-oh! Disclaimer, I can't stress this enough. I did not make these drawings. These are made by Frank Peiler. Frank Peiler, everyone. Frank has been drawing cars for over 40 years. Links to the website that features his work and his own personal website can be found in the description. Now, let's rock and roll, baby! I picked 5 what-if cases, and this is number 1. What if Rolls-Royce was made in America? What if Rolls-Royce made a model specifically designed for the American market? The basis is an early 60s Rolls-Royce with their quad headlight setup. Now, let's see what would happen if GM would convert this for the American market. I present you the 1957 Rolls-Royce by Cadillac. You're looking at a mix of Rolls-Royce and Cadillac Eldorado, pretty much the car I reviewed in an earlier video. The end result is this. Cadillac tries and fails to tastefully incorporate the Rolls-Royce waterfall grille in their design. It's just way too low, and I'm wondering how often it's going to get scratched when the car is going over speed bumps. Now, it's interesting to see how the formal and angular roof reacts with the curvaceous Cadillac body, but let's take a look at the rear. See, this is what I mean with the finless Eldorado. It looks more natural, and I love the rear. Very tasteful. Next up, what if Cadillac's rival, Lincoln, had the exclusive rights to produce an American Rolls-Royce? Well, it would be something like this. Rolls-Royce's trademark glued on a huge Lincoln body. Where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, overall it's not bad, better than Cadillac, but let's explore it a bit more, because I find the original Lincolns disgusting to look at with their canted dual headlights, so it's intriguing to see, Rolls-Royce grille or not, how the late 50s Lincolns would look like if they went with the headlights in the grille approach, with ordinary slanted front fenders on either side. Also, I can't help but see a little bit of 1961 AMC Ambassador in this, but that just might be me. The rear is okay, I guess. A bit cleaner and less space-age than the original. Frank can't seem to decide to give the car full-on fins or just raise rear fenders, so it looks a bit off. I think this car, already being rather angular, is a better option when you want to acquire that stately look that many Rolls-Royces have. Last one of the bunch is what Studebaker would introduce for their version of the Rolls-Royce. And here's some background info. Studebaker was already struggling in those years, but managed to get some side cash by lending their dealer network for the distribution of Mercedes models in the US. So when you walked into a Stude dealership, chances are that you could find a Mercedes in the corner. And to get some of that Mercedes magic trickle down on Studebaker, they decided to feature a Mercedes-inspired grille on their Hawk series. And that's where Frank's sketch comes in. Instead of a Mercedes grille, it is now replaced with the waterfall grille of Rolls-Royce. You're looking at a Rolls-Royce Silver Hawk. Now, I don't think I would buy this. It certainly is an interesting vehicle to look at, but the grille feels forced. Rolls-Royces are stately looking vehicles and not fast looking. You can see this by the way the angular greenhouse doesn't match with the dynamic body of the Studebaker. Still, could you imagine if Studebaker became the top dog of foreign imports in the US, that they would sell a rebadged Mercedes along this Rolls-Royce mix-up? I mean, what's next? A Studebaker Fiat? Here is question number 2. What if the original Chevrolet Corvette was made by another American car maker? The first one is Hudson. And here is where it already gets interesting. Hudson made a name for itself in the early 50s with their step-down bodies, which provided great drivability and racing success. Surely a car like the Corvette would be the next logical step, right? Well, here you go. And I hear you think, this looks more European than American. How is this a Hudson? Well, Frank decided to mix the Corvette with the Hudson Italia. The Italia was supposed to be an attention-grabbing concept car, designed by Italians, but became a limited-run halo car with some 50 models made. All in all, the Corvette look is kinda gone, but still, imagine what would have happened if Hudson actually succeeded in making a sport roadster like this one. I'd buy it. The same can be said if the Corvette was made by Kaiser. Kaiser. Do you remember that name? Kaiser briefly stepped into the public picture with a car that will always give you a little kiss. The Darren. The changes Frank made to make this car look less like a Darren and more like a Vette is getting rid of the kissing grille, adding a split bumper, getting rid of the sliding doors, and making the rear in such a way it fits the Corvette bullet-shaped taillights. Overall, a very attractive package with a slight hint of Buick in it. Last one for the Corvettes is the Corvette by Ford. This is just hilarious because it's straight up blasphemy. Of all the car makers out there, it was Ford that really wanted a direct answer to the Corvette. And they did, the Thunderbird. Imagine if you came up with a design sketch like this at the Ford factory, you'd be instantly fired. But let's have a look at the car. It almost looks like a Ferrari. I like the cone-shaped headlights and taillights, obviously referring to the Vette. The grille lacks the Ferrari-like pattern that is featured on the T-Bird and is replaced with a toothy grille that is a reference to the Corvette. But this is one of the what-if cars that is way too spicy to be ever produced. So let's move on. The next question is, what would the 1955 Hudson look like based on the route Hudson went down in the mid-50s? Hudson was struggling and teamed up with Nash, and as a result the 1955 Hudson is a rebodied Nash. What if other American car makers did the same approach? What if Hudson did not team up with Nash but with another American car maker instead? The first one is Hudson by GM, or really Buick. And I think I'm looking at a match made in heaven here. I do. I see a beautiful car that just convincingly looks like a Buick and a Hudson at the same time. Imagine if this car, exactly like this, one example was made and you drive it to a local car show. I guess you'll have countless people coming up saying, I believe I've seen this car somewhere, but I don't know where. It looks so quintessentially mid-50s, but you can't put quite your finger on it. And what if Packard made their version of the Hudson? And for some background information, this doesn't just completely come out of thin air. Hudson was struggling in the mid-50s and so was Packard. And there were actually talks that they would merge. So who knows, through rebadging and retooling, this might have been a real car. This is another great looking mid-50s car. The overall body is from Packard with the front and rear end changed. Frank glued the grille of a 1955 Hudson on the Packard body. And it works. The grille has a touch of elegance in it, and it perfectly complements the luxury status Packard had, and matches their earlier designs. This car almost looks more like a 1955 Packard than a 1955 Packard. The last one is a bit of a stretch. As mentioned before, Studebaker shared the bet with Mercedes. What if Hudson did the same thing with a company from overseas, the French Citroën? Well, this is their child, the Hudson DS? You're looking at a French Hudson, but other than the chrome sweep on the side, I have a hard time finding Hudson in this design. Then again, the DS is an interesting car in its own right, and it's hard to alter its revolutionary body. So instead, let's ask the question, would this have been the America exclusive Citroën DS without the Hudson thing going on? It certainly could be. The grille is changed to meet the American taste for large chrome grilles, and the car is stretched because longer always meant better, right? Let's move on and ask another question based on the Coupe Utility. What if not Ford, but another American car maker were the first with their Coupe Utility? For the uneducated, a Coupe Utility is a half pickup, half car. The comfort of a car with the practicality of a pickup. Hugely popular in Australia, and in 1957 Ford decided to launch an American version, the Ranchero. But what if they were not the first? Let's start with arch-rival Chevrolet. For the record, Chevrolet did offer the El Camino, their version, but only in 1959 and onwards, 2 years after the introduction of the Ford Ranchero. And I get it, it usually takes 2 to 3 years to develop a new car. But take a look at Chevy's El Camino for '57. And why not? Chevy could have made a Camino in record time if they wanted. They already offered the sporty 2-door Chevy Nomad station wagon, so why not just cut off the roof and voila! Frank also added a premium offering for the Coupe Utility market segment, and that would be a first, the Pontiac Muroc. The Muroc name comes from a dry lake where land speed racing took place, much like Pontiac's other model name, the Bonneville. Nice touch. And what if Chrysler was first? Introducing the Plymouth Plainsman. Forward look has been brought to the farmlands. I love the name, by the way. It certainly fits the character of the car, Plainsman. And it's named after a concept station wagon from 1956. One awesome detail is the use of the double windshield. Look, Frank mirrored the front windshield as the back window. Actually a nice touch and certainly a cost-saving measure. Another great touch is the side spare tire, a subtle nod to the toilet seat spare tires, a trademark of the forward look. Now, I'm not sure about the combination forward look and pickup. Aren't they just a massive pain in the butt? It's not very practical, but then again, these were the days of style over substance. Frank also made a Dodge version, and it's the same story here. Aren't the fins just in the way? It does look stylish, and the name Rampage was later used on a small pickup from the 80s. Last one of the Coupe Utilities is Ford's own luxury offering for the Ranchero. For Mercury, I present you the Turnpike Bruiser. The name is just spot on. Mercury already offered the Turnpike Cruiser for 1 year, and I find that model name rather weird. But this takes it to a whole other level. But wait, there is more. How about the Mercury Northern Pike Cruiser? Turning a car from a toll road to a fish. Nice! Frank described the car as one of the very first lifestyle vehicles. Heavy-duty suspension, off-road tires, higher ground clearance, and it's a crew cab. Ideal for plowing through the rugged terrain to get to your favorite fishing pond. The last question for today is, what would future Packards look like? As mentioned earlier, luxury car maker Packard was losing ground really fast in the 50s, and by the later 50s they looked like spruced up Studebakers. If you want more info about it, take a look at a video I made about the disappearance of Packard. But what if Packard survived? What if they merged with one of the big three and continued to live throughout the later 50s? Here is what happened if they teamed up with Chrysler. It's a reworked Imperial, better known as the Packard Imperius. Now, the Imperial already looked good back then, but a major difference is the grille. It features a vertical harp-like grille, a classic Packard styling trademark from bygone days. It looks good, especially compared that there were some other cars out there that tried the vertical grille approach but ultimately failed. The rear is fine and I have not a lot to say about it. The fins feature Packard-inspired taillights and it does look quite modest. This is Cadillac's attempt at making a Packard vehicle, the Packard El Carib, or Detrition, if you will. It looks very good actually. Not only features the Caddy the 1955 Packard grille, it also has dual stacked headlights, and I almost see a bit of 1957 Lincoln in there as well. The front bumper is reversed and upside down. Very clever. The rear is clean. The mid-50s Packard featured cathedral-type taillights, and this is a reworked version, kind of a shape like a shield. It looks very classical and posh and blends nicely with the fins. The very last one I have for you today is Lincoln's version of Packard, and here is where I stop the tape. Take a look at the real-world version of the 56 Lincoln and 56 Packard. They look pretty similar. And also take Packard's concept car of around the same time into account, the Predictor. See where the vertical grille comes from? And all this comes together in the last drawing of today, the 1957 Packard The Packard Patriciapolitan. It's a Lincoln with the rear end of the Predictor show car glued onto it. The front features Packard's harp grille, also Predictor inspired, but kind of disrupts the horizontal theme that is going on. Still, I am going to end with this. Could this have been a first and rather tasteful attempt at creating a good looking Edsel? Let me know in the comments and, subscribe while you're at it. And so we come to an end. I want to thank Frank Peiler for doing the Lord's work. This is a goldmine. Please do check out the link. There is a lot more out there than shown in this video. And who knows, maybe there'll be a part 2.